Welcome back to Learning with Ms. H. Today we're going to take a look at Intro to Geology. So we're going to go into our modules page. If you're on the home screen, you'll click on modules right up here at the top. Once you get into the modules page, you're going to go down to the current week, the current day, and you're going to click on that lesson. So today we are going to be in our Earth Science lesson with Intro to Geology. You've hopefully gotten into the modules page and onto today's lesson page. And remember that the dates may be different for you depending on what semester you are taking the class. So the bell work for today is just to start working on vocabulary here so that you have something to do while I'm taking attendance if you're in person. If you are at home, you can work on your vocabulary for a little bit if you'd like, but you should be working on that either way during your free time if you did not get it done in the class time that we gave you. So for today, we're going to be doing a couple of things. You're going to take notes over the presentation here, and then you're going to do this homework assignment that is linked right here. It is also linked down at the bottom of the page in the assignments section. So we're going to go through the homework, and then we'll start doing notes. That way, those of you that would rather do notes on your own can do that, and those of you who want to go through it with me can continue watching the video and take notes along with me. So let's get into it. So we're going to review what we've learned so far. This is a super short video animation of basically reviewing reviewing what we've gone through with astronomy and Earth structure. So go ahead and pause my video, watch this one, and then come back to this current video whenever you're done watching the Everything You Need to Know About Planet Earth. It's 7 minutes long, so once you've done that, come back here and rejoin us. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you watched that 7.5 minute video on everything you need to know about planet Earth to review what we've learned already. Sometimes streaming the video that you're watching right now, the lesson video, it doesn't always work with a video inside of a video. So hopefully you paused me and watched that one. And now we're going to go ahead and continue. Let's go slide 3. There we go. Okay, so geology unit. We're going to be talking about rocks and minerals. Quick side note, hopefully you noticed this, but they mixed up the lithosphere and the asthenosphere in that video that you just watched. So hopefully you caught that. All right, so what is geology? Geology is the study of Earth, its rocks, and how they are formed and changed. Geo means Earth, ology means study of, so geology is the study of Earth. A geologist is a scientist who studies geology. And so far, we've talked about the Earth and how it's formed with its layers and that kind of thing. Some internal processes. Now we're going to study the rocks and how they change. A short little animation video over here on the right. This is the Padma River in India, and it's showing you how the river has eroded and redeposited and changed its course over time. There's lots of different career fields in geology. Some of the major ones, volcanology, that's the study of volcanoes. Geochemistry, that's the chemistry behind the geology or the underlying chemistry. Geophysics, underlying physics. Mineralogy, study of minerals. Seismology, that's the study of the seismic events or the waves that cause earthquakes, those kinds of things. There's also all of these other career paths, petrology, planetary science, natural hazards, remote sensing, structural geology, hydrology, engineering, environmental, all of these different career paths and areas to study in geology. Again, here's some of the major fields. Volcanology studies volcanoes. Geochemistry uses chemistry to explain geological processes. Geophysics applies physics to explain geological processes. Mineralogy studies chemical, crystal, and physical properties of minerals. Seismology studies earthquakes and crust movements. These are the major ones that you will need to be able to recognize throughout the unit. Okay. Read through these questions. See if you can answer any of these already. You may be able to based on past units. What's the difference between a rock and a mineral? How can physical and chemical properties be used to identify minerals? What processes result in rock formation? How do weathering and erosion affect Earth's surface features and materials? You should have studied these types of things in middle school a little bit, so you may know some of this already, or a little bit about a few of these. But we're going to learn about all of them during this unit. So what do you think the difference is between a rock and a mineral? Basically, rocks are made up of minerals. So minerals are going to be the building blocks of the rocks, like an atom is the building block of matter. Cells are the building blocks of people, of organisms. Minerals are the building blocks of rocks. So, minerals are naturally occurring. They are inorganic. That means they are not and have not ever been alive. They have very orderly internal structure. It is called a crystal structure. And it is a very, very orderly structure, always made up the same way, always has the same pattern to it. They generally have a characteristic chemical composition, crystal form, and physical properties. That means if you see amber, it's going to have the same composition, crystal form, and properties regardless of the size of the specimen. So it doesn't matter how much you have, amber is amber is amber. Amethyst is amethyst is amethyst. Rocks. Rocks are aggregates of one or more minerals, so they're put together with at least one or more minerals composing them. They're formed by stacking, compressing, or melting minerals together. So they've been fused together somehow. And we're going to talk about that process in one of the upcoming lessons. Any ideas what it's called? Remember hearing about the rock cycle? Right, so there are three types of rocks we're going to look at. Sedimentary means you have all of these little sediments that have been deposited in places. You add pressure to it, and they're going to fuse together to form rocks. You have rocks, and you add pressure or heat, and that's going to change the rock. That's a metamorphic rock. You can have igneous rocks that when you have rocks plus heat, they become magma, and then the magma cools to become rock. So 3 different types of rock, and we're going to look at all 3 of them during the next few units, few lessons. Here's a simplified version of the rock cycle, so you can see kind of how everything goes. You're going to have weathering and erosion happen and break down rocks and things that are on the surface into these little particles. All of this sediment or these deposited little particles are going to have pressure, and they're going to layer together and form sedimentary rock. Add heat and pressure to it, and they're going to change to become metamorphic rock. Metamorphic rock is going to melt into lava, and as it cools, it turns into igneous rock. Weathering and erosion happens, breaks it down into these particles, and we repeat the process. So it is a cycle. This is a very simplified version of it. We'll get more in depth and more in detail on the rock cycle in an upcoming lesson. You should copy this cycle down into your notes so that you have it. You will be expected to know the rock cycle and how it works for the test. Great. We're going to move on to the next slide. If you're not done copying this one down, again, go ahead and click pause, finish up the slide, and then click play to continue on. So the last unit, we talked about volcanoes, earthquakes, layers of the earth, internal processes. We talked about heat convection through the mantle and crust and how that heat convection works and causes these different events like volcanoes and earthquakes and those kinds of things. And we're going to talk this time about the rock cycle, and it's actually bound to that same cycle of crust renewal as well. And we'll see how in the next few lessons. For this unit, there are a couple of things that you need to have as your goals. First, you need to be able to recognize different rocks and minerals and tell them apart from each other. We're going to learn how to test the properties of minerals. You're going to see how to do that, and we'll have a lab that involves the testing of minerals, whether it's in-person kids doing a hands-on mineral test, or if we're still in COVID and can't do the in-person test, you'll be doing a virtual mineral test. All of my virtual students will be doing the virtual mineral test because you don't have the supplies to do it in person. Hopefully we will be able to do this in class for those of you that are with me in person. Pending COVID precautions. If you're watching this and COVID has been resolved, yay, congratulations, and have fun with the hands-on lab. You need to be able to distinguish the different types of rocks. You need to be able to tell the difference between metamorphic, igneous, etc. You need to explain how rocks are formed, know how each type is formed and what is involved in the process, and then understand how they change, what causes one to become another. This is our last slide for today. So once you're finished with the slideshow, go ahead and move on to this geology intro homework. Get that done, submitted, and if you don't get 100%, remember you can take it as many times as you need to. I will see you back next lesson.